Welcome back, everyone. Well, as you know, as part of our ongoing series of keeping you abreast of healthcare issues related to the pandemic, I've been checking in with Ray Agnew of Glens Falls Hospital on an ongoing basis to sort of get updates on what's going on from his perspective. Now, Ray, by the way, is the Vice President, Hospital Community Engagement, and he's joining me again today. Hello, Ray.
Hello, Jesse. How are you?
Good, my friend. How are you? It's good to talk to you.
Great. Good to be back.
So Ray, I remember I've got quite an agenda here to go, so we're gonna jump in. The last time we spoke, I remember you talking about the business at the hospital. You know, people tend not to think of a hospital as a business, but it's important that we all do. And you were saying things like people were postponing elective surgeries. They were a little more cautious about wanting to come in when they should come in. And that weighs heavily, especially on an organization as vital to the community as Glens Falls Hospital. Recently, it was announced there was a $13 million, I think it's a grant, correct me if I'm wrong because I'm not sure of the wording here, to really help the hospital get through some of the issues that you're facing, short-term and long-term. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sure. The third round of CARES Act funding included funding for what are known as safety net hospitals. And actually, when we first prepared and submitted our data for that, Haney's, the New York State organization, didn't think we were going to qualify. So honestly, it was a bit of a surprise, an excellent surprise when we found out about it. And once again, our Congresswoman, and I'm not speaking in political terms, I'm talking about her work on behalf of the region and healthcare. Just tremendous. We're really very grateful for her advocacy, and that 13 million is going to make a difference. I always try to put things in perspective a little bit for folks, though, because this is a big place, and even though we're nonprofit, that doesn't mean that we're supposed to lose money, although we have often. Because it's a very difficult payer mix here. I think we've talked about that as well, that we're kind of upside down with 80% government payment. But to put it in perspective, $13 million is just over 2 payrolls worth of funding. Each payroll is around $6 million. And so it's extraordinarily helpful, and we're very grateful. But it's not going to make up for the tremendous loss in revenue that has happened because we stopped everything to be prepared if we needed to take care of a surge.
You know, one of our earlier interviews we did on site, and it was very, very impressive, Ray, what you and your team at Glens Falls Hospital were doing. You know, we had the testing areas outside, and, you know, you had reworked the whole entranceway into the emergency room area, and, you know, quarantining certain patients in certain areas to ensure as much safety as you possibly could. Back in the early days, some issues with getting the amount of equipment you needed, everything from masks to ventilators. We've seen a decline. A lot of that has to do with the vigilance of the people that lead our state. And what is our standing in Glens Falls in terms of the number of cases?
Sure. So right now we're at 0, which is wonderful. And I think we've seen only 1 positive case in Warren County in the last 27 days. And so that's a very good sign as well. But you mentioned the word vigilance. That's incredibly important. We still have to be vigilant. There is COVID-19 in the community across the state, across the country, obviously, still. And so it's important that we take precautions. And it's important that all hospitals have learned from this, and that we are now much more prepared than we were in the past. Should we get a resurgence this fall, we'll be in a much better position than we were when this first happened at the end of February this year.
Yeah, I think that if there is a silver lining anywhere in what you just said, it's preparedness and the ability to say, look, if we are going to get a second surge, which, you know, a lot of people are saying is inevitable when the weather gets colder again or something like that, that you and the staff at the hospital will be more prepared for something like that. There is, you know, we're in the heart of our tourism season here. It's recommended that people wear masks in public. They're trying to do the social distancing. There are things in Warren County like the pledge where businesses are pledging to follow certain guidelines to ensure safety of people that come into our area. But it looks like some more drastic measures might be taken in terms of quarantining people or having people self-quarantine if they come in from another state that's considered a hot spot.
Yes, the governor just within the last hour or so, along with the governors of Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, I believe I have that right, announced that if you come in from one of these hotspot states, and I'm not going to be able to name them all, but Arizona, California, et cetera, that you're going to be asked to quarantine for 14 days. And I think that that's a smart move. I know it's tough on folks. I get it, and I know that people have homes in the Carolinas, for example, or down in Florida, or they may be snowbirds, right? And chose to stay down there a little bit longer before coming up here because of the problems we were having earlier on in the pandemic. But safety first. Let's take care of ourselves and each other. I think that's tremendously important.
Well, I think so. Vermont did have a quarantine rule in effect for a while. I think that they've relaxed it now.
Yes.
If you came in from New York State, even they were asking you to please self-quarantine for 14 days. You and I have known each other a long time, Ray. The mood in the country right now, not only related to the pandemic, but also related to race relations. I'd love to have your perspective on, we're seeing things related to race and racism and equality. Let's go there, that we haven't seen before, that healthcare will be very severely impacted. Could be in a positive way, could be in a way that we haven't seen before, and whatever. What's your perspective on that?
I think you're absolutely right, Jesse. And I would say that, first of all, I'm extraordinarily proud of this community's response. The peaceful march that took place. My son was there with his girlfriend. It was a remarkable show of support. And it feels like maybe we're finally waking up and seeing that things are not the way they should be, and that folks like you and me really can be allies, but we don't know what that experience is like for people of color. And saying that out loud, I think, is liberating for us, so that we can be more helpful. And in healthcare, one of the things that was clear in the New York City area, in the boroughs, was that there were neighborhoods where the pandemic just swept through like wildfire. And they were the poorer neighborhoods, and they happened to be mainly people of color. And I think it's important for people to understand that just because you're black-skinned or brown-skinned, that doesn't mean you're more susceptible to coronavirus. What makes that group more susceptible to coronavirus is being underprivileged and not having access to healthcare, and perhaps not taking as good care of themselves as they could because they don't have insurance, and any number of different factors. And I think that that's a wake-up call for the healthcare industry also, that we need to look at our communities differently than we have in the past. I think it would be true that if an area in the Bronx that was largely Caucasian, but as poor as the ones in the Bronx that were hit so hard, but then we would have seen a lot more white people, if you will, with the illness. So I think it's really changed the way we've looked at things in healthcare, and I'm extraordinarily hopeful that it will change the way we look at each other across the country.
Really well said, Ray. Thank you for answering that. It did not mean to put you on the spot with that one.
It's okay.
But people hear me joke frequently about the color of my beard. You as well, my friend.
Mine too.
And we've seen a few things, and I do hope that we are seeing some substantive change, so that across the board, healthcare really playing a major role in this to ensure the safety and health of everybody.
Yeah, and we have some physicians who are of color, and we're getting some great feedback from them, and they're helping us understand that maybe our response as an institution isn't all it could be, and we're listening. And I described it one time to someone as it's painful for me to come to some of these realizations, but it's a good pain because it means I'm learning. And I hope that that's true for everyone.
Oh, well, I can't think of anything to say beyond that. That's really well said, Ray. Hey, for our viewers, by the way, this is the same Ray Agnew, who's a writer, a composer, writes some great music. And you can see him perform some songs that actually carry a lot of the message that we're talking about right now on our music show tracks. So that means, Ray, that you've got to send me some more music, okay?
Okay, you're on.
Okay, pal. Great to check in with you, and call anytime there are updates. Let's everyone stay vigilant, and we'll keep you posted on any of the news that's going on in our local community regarding healthcare. Ray, stay safe, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
You do the same. Thank you, Jesse. Always a pleasure.
Yes, likewise. Take care.